I was found in a box on a battlefield. I'm Emmanuel Kelly, and this is my story. I was found on a battlefield in Iraq by soldiers, taken to an orphanage without any birth certificates, passports, or identity. And for the next 7 years, I was raised by Mother Teresa nuns, where I experienced and saw gunshots, executions, experienced bombings going off, hearing noises every day that I didn't understand. That's also where I met my now brother, Ahmed, who is an amazing individual. I always say the only thing thicker than blood is love. Ahmed's not my biological brother, but I love him more than words can ever explain. Whilst I was in that orphanage for the next 7 years, we knew it was up to us to take care of these kids. We would have one meal a day at 4 p.m. every day, and we would have to feed these kids, change their diapers, do all the things that a 30-year-old would do at the age of 5. Eventually, this exceptional woman, Moira Kelly, who's a humanitarian who has changed thousands of kids' lives over the years, had heard about my brother and I while she was in Albania, of all places, looking after kids at a Mother Teresa orphanage as well. She gets on a plane and heads out to Iraq. Eventually arrives at this orphanage after spending an 8-hour trip from Jordan to Iraq in a taxi with someone that doesn't speak English. For 3 days straight, I sat on a window ledge waiting and waiting and waiting. Thank God for my brother. Even though I had moments where I felt alone, because of him, he reminded me every now and then, whether it was through singing to me, that I wasn't alone. And finally, on the 3rd day, she arrived. And I remember thinking 3 things. Number 1, can she help us? Will she help us? Number 2, is she an angel? She was wearing a white dress with a blue veil over her head. And I thought to myself, this could be the moment where my life could literally change. And number 3, how the heck did this white woman get in this country? Because she was whiter than white chocolate. And as a brown guy in Iraq, never seen a white person in my life at the age of 5. She comes into the orphanage. My brother and I, we start singing at the top of our lungs, a welcome song, right? But she took us out for the day. I got to see the river of Babylon. I got to experience Iraq, and we got to step out of the walls of that orphanage for the first time. She brought us back at the end of that day. She sat us down. My brother asked her a really serious question. He was 7 at the time. Auntie Moira, we called her. Auntie Moira, he says, can you help us? And Auntie Moira turns around and says, I'll do my best, Ahmed, I'll do my best. And he goes, well, it's okay, Moira. If you can't help both Emmanuel and I, take Emmanuel and maybe come back for me another time. It took me a while. I think I was about 8 years old. It was after I came out to Australia where I got told that story. And that's when I realized the only thing thicker than blood is love. It took Mum 2 years, Auntie Moira, 2 years to bring us out to Australia. Finally, we arrived. I remember looking over the window ledge and I thought, wow, how beautiful is that? We arrived into the airport. I was stuck. Right? And I said, Auntie Moira, I'm very, very hungry. And she goes, no worries, boys. We have spaghetti bolognese. And we're like, what is spaghetti bolognese? She says, you'll love it, right? And she puts it in front of us. And we said, Auntie Moira, we need help. She goes, no, you don't. I said, no, we need help. See, we'd never used a knife and fork for the first time. We'd never used a spoon for the first time. Using a knife and fork was completely new to us. But we learned it. Spaghetti bolognese is the hardest meal to eat. There's no doubt about it. It is. I mean, it goes over you. It's messy. But after a while, and as my life grew and I got bigger and older, I realized that life is messy, right? We have these moments and life is messy. That's the reality. But I learned to embrace myself so much so that I'm sharing with you right now. Doctors were able to make me a hand, and it was pretty exceptional. I went to school. I had my first crush. I had my first girlfriend, my first kiss. I lived a life that I would never have lived in Iraq. At the age of 9 is when I learned that I could sing and make money. I watched a TV show called American Idol, and I watched this woman perform. It was Kelly Clarkson. She won the show. I was inspired and I said, wow, she can do it, I can as well. That same year, I did my first public performance. in front of a bunch of financial planners and accountants. Financial planners are fun. Accountants, boring. And everyone in the audience clapped, laughed. Cut 2 years later, at age 11, I performed again. This is the first time I realized I want to pursue music for the rest. Like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to be a singer for the rest of my life. I want to be an artist, an entertainer. I want to disrupt the music industry. This was the first time I realized I wanted to be the first differently abled pop success. I sung Imagine. Now remember that. At 11 years old was when I first sung Imagine. I got 3 standing ovations. Cut to age 14. I sung for the Prime Minister of Australia. I went in, I met him, I shook his hand, and he says, "You're gonna become big." 2 years later, I got my citizenship. At age 16, my brother was 18, I got my citizenship, and it was the best day of my life. I had 2 incredible days of my life at this point. The day I arrived in Australia and the day I got my citizenship. Because for the first time ever, the woman that has been taking care of both my brother and I for the last 8 years of our lives, we could call mum. We finally felt like we belonged. At 17 years of age, I auditioned for X Factor. I remember learning Home by Michael Bublé. And the reason I resonated with that song so much is because I think wherever you are in the world, home is where love is. I mean, that's the message, right? And I'm terrified, I'm nervous, I'm waiting. And finally they call my name. This guy, Andrew Furs. And he says to me, "Now, Emmanuel, are you ready to sing Imagine by John Lennon?" I said, "No, I'm singing Home." He says, "No, dude, we couldn't get the rights for you to sing Home by Michael Bublé." I said, "Wait, no one did." And he goes, "Oh, sorry, buddy. Lucky I sung it when I was 11 years old, but dude, I can't remember it." And he goes, "Well, here's the lyrics. You got 5 minutes." And then finally, I get to the stage, and I'm nervous. Everything just slows down. I'm still massively insecure about the way I look, about my hands. I'm getting ready to hide them under my sleeve, pulling it down and down and down. And I walk on stage with my limp, and I'm nervous about that, and I'm trying not to limp. And I arrive at the on stage. And I remember Ronan Keating, who's an Irish guy who sung he was big in the UK and Europe with a band called Boyzone, right? And I was a huge fan. And I remember him asking me, he goes, "Hey, mate." I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He says, "What's your name?" And the rest was history. I told the story that you all just heard. I was found in a box on a battlefield, taken to an orphanage where I was raised there for the next 7 years, experiencing noises, gunshots, seeing things that I didn't understand. And the whole audience just took back. Millions of views start rolling into YouTube. Things go crazy. Interview after interview after interview after interview. And I'm starting to think I'm God's gift to earth. But at the same time, I'm massively overwhelmed. I started touring, started seeing the world. I sold out the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas. I mean, things like that. It was nuts. But as things go up, there's always a down point. I started to get arrogant and cocky. And I realized that it wasn't because I necessarily thought I was the best or anything like that. It was because I was so insecure about myself that I overcompensated with arrogance and cockiness. Record labels, agents, managers started to discriminate. They told me I couldn't make it. I wasn't gonna make it. They told me that because I had a disability that I looked bad for their brand. And I'm talking about all the labels, and forcing me to be a speaker instead of doing what I love, what I know the world also loves. It's my passion. My dream is to disrupt. My dream is to be the first differently able pop success. I started to go into a depressive state, anxiety, depression. If I heard loud noises, it would remind me of the bombs in Iraq, and I would be terrified. I would have nightmares. And the way to stop that was to get on drugs, drink too much, have sex with any random stranger. It was a really bad time in my life. But one day, a friend of mine, he says, "Stay with me," on my couch. And that same day, I looked at the mirror and I asked myself, "Emmanuel, What happened to the boy who could survive anything? Punched the mirror as hard as I could. Blood on my hand. The next day, my mate, he bought a new mirror, put it up on the wall, and he said, please don't break this. And I looked at the mirror again and I said, there you are. From that day onwards, I started to say to myself, embrace yourself, love yourself, embrace who you are. You can do it. Remember, you're never alone. But then I get a call. Rob Goldstein, he managed some artists in New York, and says, Emmanuel, a friend of mine's gone on tour, and we pitched you to perform with him. We sit down and he has me record a video, and then he turns the phone to me and he shows me, and it says, Chris Martin from Coldplay. The biggest band in the world wanted to perform with me? This kid from Iraq? A month later, I arrive in Australia. I'm a surprise for my mum. We didn't tell her that this was happening. And Chris Martin walks in, the band walks in, I high-five them, well, high-three, and we start rehearsing. Just as I'm about to hop on stage with Coldplay, I realize something. Oh no, I'm not wearing my jacket. I'm just wearing a t-shirt, a white t-shirt. I'm like, I gotta wear my jacket. 80,000 people in an audience is gonna look at me. I gotta wear my jacket. Then the backstage manager goes to me, Emmanuel, they're ready. You got to get on stage. So I got to get my jacket. My boy looks at me and he says, Emmanuel, you got two choices right now. You either get on that stage or you go and get that jacket and you don't perform with Coldplay. For a second, I actually considered not to perform with the biggest band in the world because I was still so insecure. All those memories just started rushing back. You'll never make it. I start to realize this voice starts screaming at me. And it's saying, Manuel, it's none of your business what they think about you. It's only your business what you think about yourself. So what do you think of yourself now? I said in my head, I love me. And at the end of the performance, I walked away, gave my mum the biggest hug, and I said, whispered in her ear, I love you, thank you, I love me. Today, I have an album that's been helped and mentored and by Chris Martin of Coldplay. It's set to come out this year in November. I have a new single that just released, Never Alone, a music video featuring some of the biggest artists in the world.
Open my mind to know you're with me, and through my life I know you're beside me. I won't ever be alone, and through the storm I know you hold me.
They also want to see inclusion and diversity really come into the forefront. They want to see mental health talked about. I am becoming the pop artist I wanted to become. I am the first differently abled pop success. And soon I won't be just the first differently able pop success. I'll just be my own brand, my own self, who I am. A pop artist, a businessman, whatever you want to say. But I'll be me, and I'll embrace every inch of that.